So the special education process can be frightening, confusing, especially for parents because many parents are unfamiliar with the process and really not sure what to expect. It's a confusing time. So I'm just going to make sure that you understand the process and know what to expect during each step. The first step would be like becoming aware that a child may have a need for special education services. So basically, step one is identifying the child's needs. Step two, before anything can be done, the school must notify the parents and obtain consent from the parents before they could do any assessments for special education. So the school can't move forward with any testing or evaluations without the consent of you, the parent. Step three is the evaluation, which is a series of tests based on what we might think the student might need for special education services. So this is, like I said, a series of tests, not just one test or anything. It's not just based on IQ or anything like that. The evaluation is a series of tests that is obtained with the consent of the parent. The next step would be determining eligibility. Based on how their assessment goes, you determine whether or not they do qualify or they do not qualify for special education services. Step five would be to proceed if the child does qualify for special education services or if they don't qualify in the area that we suspected they would. We might do testing in some other areas to see if they can receive some services. If they do qualify for special education services, we would hold an IEP meeting, which an IEP is an individualized education plan, and I'll talk more about that on my IEP page. But basically, the parents, a regular classroom teacher, a special education teacher, like a school administrator, and then any other professionals that might be related to the child's needs, like a speech therapist might attend this meeting. And we work together to develop a plan of what services this child might need, and then we set goals and things like that for the child's education. But like I said, we'll talk more about that on my IEP process page. After we have the IEP meeting, we start providing the student with the special education services based on their individualized education program. Once they start receiving their services, we have to measure progress, which includes a lot of documentation and things like that. In special ed, you document everything. It's important. So we have information to go off of. The next step number 9, would be to review the IEP. This has to be done at a minimum of once per year. So at least every year, and that's the very least. It could be done more than that. At the review, we make sure that the IEP is still suiting the child, that the services that they're receiving are still appropriate. We might make some adjustments, things like that. And we see if they're meeting the goals that we set at our last IEP meeting. And the next step number 10, would just be to reevaluate the child to see if there are any different services that the child should have or anything like that. We just want to make sure that the child is receiving all of the appropriate services and that they're getting all the help that they can get. And in a nutshell, that kind of sums up all the special education process.